So if I type in Mickey Mouse here, I don't think it's going to come up with anything, which is the interesting one.
Okay. Is it
Sounds
because of
fine. Right? Was
copyright?
it with an E? Mickey
Yeah,
Mouse?
yeah.
Okay. So you can see there's like a bunch of sliders and settings on this, and there's a bunch of tabs and stuff like that. So the only real important one is this. Well, there's a bunch of important ones, like this sampling method, which is almost like an algorithm because Stable Diffusion is different to Midjourney and DALL-E in how it generates the image. So if you use a different model, you'll end up with a different looking image. And the sampling step is how many stages it goes through where it's removed the noise. So if you set it too low, the time it takes will be quicker, but the image will still have a lot of noise in it. And there's this thing called the CFG scale, which essentially is how much you want your prompt to matter. So if you set it really high, then it will always stick to whatever's in your prompt. And if you set it lower, it's more flexible.
Yeah.
So if I generate this, I'm really scared of what it's going to create. Okay, you might have to blur this out if it's got something really rude on it.
Stable Diffusion's a bit more not suitable for work.
Let's see, it's going to run.
Yeah. Midjourney has guidelines and
Oh no, it's created an anime girl.
I want to include this in our podcast.
yeah, that's good. Oh wow.
Right, okay. So let's say it's created an anime girl. If I wanted to be realistic, it's
I feel like it always generates things in anime style, right? Naturally, at first.
so so ugly. It depends on the model that you've used, or in here, the checkpoint. So some of them are based more on anime style, whereas some of them are more realistic. I thought this was a general purpose one, which is why I chose it, but it seems to have just picked very, very anime style ones. But if we go to this thing called control net, which I mentioned before, so there's a lot of like parameters it has, and I'm interested to try this one to see what will happen if we. Okay, so before I jump to that, a lot of the models, they're not trained on very specific things. So, for example, when you said the Leonardo da Vinci style, it might not know what that is. And there are these things called LoRa's that are essentially keywords that you can download and then insert them into the stable. Oh, I can't even show you because I've not shared the right screen. Hold on. Do I have to stop and then restart?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's these things called LoRa's that you download if the model doesn't know what it is, instead of trying to make something up, which is what it's kind of done with some of them. I mean, it's just put ears on like an anime girl instead of having like a proper mouse. And then you would load that up into here, and then it would try and use these types of styles. So what was I going to? Oh yeah, I was going to use this to see what it would generate. So, one of the parameters on this thing is called this IP adapter, which is supposed to take the style of an image that you feed into it. So it's a different way instead of like just writing out the text if you don't know what it is. And I don't know what this will do, whether it will work or not. Yeah, because I've enabled it, it's got to load it up first before it can generate the image. Yeah, a bunch of the other stuff it can do is, I don't know if I was going to do it now, which is, oh, it did do it. So yeah, it's taking the colors from that, which is interesting. But yeah, it's got a bunch of these other different things. do we have time to run through some of them? I don't know if this is going to take ages to go through, but I was going to say take this pose and then show you what it does in here.
It's interesting how they generated all females with like the Mickey Mouse ears, because Mickey Mouse is traditionally more, I guess, male compared to Minnie
Bias in the
Mouse.
data, right?
Yeah.
That's it's again what I pointed out earlier. It's whatever the data's been trained on. There's always going to present a bias to it.
Yeah, so you can see here, I think, that it's processed this image to be just this outline.
Yeah.
And should I just turn this bit off so you can just see? And then if we try generating something just with that, it should take these lines and base an image off it. Yeah, which it worked quite well, luckily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can like mix and match it. So let's say I wanted this style with this as well. See what happens.
I guess this one has less Mickey Mouse in it.
Yeah.
It's because the all these parameters, some of them are set too high. Where I think where Jason mentioned the Mona Lisa thing, if it's set too high, it'll just go straight to that. So yeah, it's quite interesting that you can just mix and match a bunch of different things there.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, so you can also, I don't know if this was kind of the thing where you were touching up the image of the ice cream. I don't know if Midjourney allows you to start with an image and then generate random ones straight off that, or whether you just have to go straight from text to image.
I'm not sure. I'd have to check.
Okay. Because yeah, this is another way of doing it with Stable Diffusion, where instead of having to write all this text at the start, I could put, say, let me just find an image of me.
Wow, we're at the hour-and-a-half mark.
It's already been an hour and a half. I thought it's only been like shorter than that. Let's see what's going to happen here. I don't know what I want to do.
We're almost at end of segment 2 anyway.
Outside with trees.
At this rate, we're going to have to pay for the pro plan, guys.
Oh.
1 month is 5 hours we've got at the moment.
So yeah, I fed this image in, and it's this denoise strength that would take this image and then add the noise in. So if I set this to 1, this would basically be full noise, and the image that it produces will be nothing like this.
Okay.
So if I generate this, it shouldn't have any Mickey Mouse, and it should just be this prompt here, which is outside with trees. Yeah. And if I set this lower to like 0.2, because there's so little noise in here, it shouldn't change that much. But if you have somewhere in the middle, it will create something weird, what it should do. Yeah. See, like Mickey Mouse, but it's kind of...
Yeah.
Trees. Yeah.
And there's a bunch of other stuff like the video. There's also does video to video, which I've not experimented with yet. I was going to, but I've just not had the time. Where, yeah, you can feed it a short video, and then it will generate frame by frame the whatever model that you've put in into whatever style. I don't know how smooth it is. That's why I've not tried it properly. But the ones I was trying out, which didn't generate very good, or the style that we wanted, was this Deforum one, and that generated the psychedelic style video. And what was I also trying? I can't remember what it was called. I thought there was something called like Loopback. Oh yeah, it was Loopback Wave, which it works, but it's very choppy. So it depends on the kind of style that you want. There's loads of different ways of generating videos from stuff like that.
I see.
But there's also, this is just, so the thing about Stable Diffusion is that there's a lot of different interfaces with it. So this one's called Automatic 1111, which was one of the first ones out, which is why it solidified itself within the Stable Diffusion community. One that's completely different is called Comfy UI, where essentially it's the same thing. So, for example, you have the CFG scale here, which is the same thing as what you'd have here. But in Automatic 1111, it's a slider that's already built in for you to see.
Yeah.
Whereas on these ones, you kind of start off with a blank sheet and then you've got to manually add stuff.
Oh, okay. So it's
And then you've got to
more
link them up
decision tree.
yourself.
Yeah.
So if you know what you're doing, it can be easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it also can get very messy if
It's
you don't know
complicated. Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah. This the whole like open source versus end to end. Like open source, you you have to be quite a nerd about these things, and then like
Yeah.
figure out like all the technical details. Whereas like Midjourney is like almost the end to end, right? Where all you have to do is just jump in Discord and then just type a prompt in, and it will largely generate like what you want.
Yeah.
Whereas this gets like Stable Diffusion gets a lot more technical. And yeah, depending on the purpose of like what you're trying to do, you might not have the time to completely learn Stable Diffusion, and Midjourney is good enough to get you where you want to go.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So it's good to have both. But yeah, if you don't have time, then Midjourney will help. Um, yeah, there's like one question I do want to that I was asked that I do want to answer, and it's like, how does using these AI tools help you be more productive? Because what we found is that AI tools largely help on the workflow production side and not really the generative side. Again, clients are very wary about using AI, which is understandable. We have the whole copyright and also like whether it like damages the brand or not. So, but to quickly show you guys how you can be productive with ChatGPT. I mean, I see a lot of people using ChatGPT to write emails, which I think is a pretty dumb thing. It's like it's a lot quicker to just write the email rather than tell a ChatGPT to give you a response, right? But one thing you can use it for is like, let's say you're going into a meeting, and you're not like I don't know, your boss, your client, or whatever has told you to read a massive PDF file and have talking points for that meeting. What you can do is just essentially feed it into ChatGPT, and it will just be a lot quicker. So let's say yesterday I was listening to the Hermes story, and they have a financial report. And let's pretend you're going into a meeting with Hermes, and you need to read their financial report. What you can do is just essentially feed the report in, and then tell ChatGPT to give you a summary of the report. So um, analyze. So you want to always give it an instruction. So you want to tell ChatGPT to and give me let's say 10 a 10-point bullet list summary of this PDF.
So you can just drag and drop that file into
Yeah.
ChatGPT. Okay, I've not tried it.
Yeah. I'm hoping it gives me 10. I've done this with a book, but
interesting.
I've not done this with a PDF, a financial PDF. But we'll see.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've used this before as well, and it's so helpful because even for example, like our podcast transcripts, to even just put it in there and ask it to give it a summary for writing like the blurb for like YouTube or a piece of content on Instagram or TikTok. it really does like do a very quick job, efficiently. Yeah.
Okay, so it's given me 10. And the fact that it knows it's a comprehensive overview of Hermes's operations, achievements, and strategy for the year 2022. And because I listened to the podcast, so I know that for sure in this financial report there is Hermes's business and marketing strategy. Yeah, and as you can see, it's giving you like key points within the document. Obviously, you'd have to do some quick check whether the consolidated revenue is 11.6 billion. Just to make sure that you're not chatting shit completely. But it is able to essentially summarize a huge document very quickly for you to then kind of go into a meeting and say, here are
Yeah,
the
definitely.
summary. Because this document's like 500 pages. Like no one's got
Oh
time
my
to sit
god,
through for 500
that's
pages.
crazy.
Yeah, and you can do this with books if you've downloaded a PDF of a PDF version of a book, and you're like too lazy to read through it. Not that I recommend you do that. But if you're in a pinch, or you want to be a slightly bit more productive, then you can do something like this.
Yeah. I think it doesn't even have to be a PDF. Even for example, like the videos, like YouTube videos that we talk about, you can even ask it to summarize the video and then analyze it, and it'll
Yeah,
give you a breakdown of the strategy, the ad, the summary.
yeah.
So
But
you
that's
can
just
pretty much
that's with the transcript, right? You can't feed a
no.
video direct. Can you?
Can you
So
feed video
you
now?
don't have to. You can't. You sometimes I just put a video link in,
Oh
but I
wow.
will tell it. But I will tell it what the video is. So, for example, it's like the Pringles ad in 2024 or the Google ad, and so you specify it because it already knows there's going to be loads of articles on it by then.
Yeah, I see.
Oh, okay. So it
Okay.
can't be
Because
like
it
a
just,
really
cause it,
obscure video,
Yeah,
and
but
then
pretty much, yeah. But most of the things are like the ones that we watch would be on there, and it will be able to give you a quick summary, and you can ask it to break down whatever you're looking into.
yeah, yeah.
hmm.
Um, I see. And then the other thing that I think people use are making a mistake is they use ChatGPT as like a search function.
Mm,
And the problem with that is that if ChatGPT doesn't know the answer, it will bullshit an answer to you. And when that's the case, it becomes a lot harder to rely on the search function because now you don't know if it's going to give you accurate information. So what I tend to do if I'm going to use ChatGPT as a search function is I specify. So I say, okay, look up and research Stable Diffusion. Um, tell me something that you want to know about Stable Diffusion, Miles.
Me,
Yeah.
that works or that doesn't work.
Um,
Yeah, because I tried to search for something about like video generation on it, and it was so vague. It was just like, oh, you need to create images individually for each frame. But when I was searching for something very specific,
tell me how to create videos using Stable Diffusion. Let's see. I'm hoping this works. It might be too new. But yeah, you want to specify lookup and research because then when you specify this, it tends to then give you the source link for it. Yeah, so it will add these like little source links at the end. So what if it adds these source links, you know it's like less likely to bullshit because then you can then go verify the source links and be like, okay, it's actually telling the truth now. And this, if you're going to use that as a search engine, this is the way you want to do it, and not just like type in, tell me how to create videos using Stable Diffusion, because that's a naive prompt. Again, you want to be giving things a clear direction.
is this the plugin
Of,
you have, or is this in it
no,
already?
this is
Because I'm fairly
this
sure
is
I've
it's
the
never
everything.
plugin.
It's
seen.
everything's
Everything's
Okay.
like.
I've got to look at it more.
Yeah. I'm not doing anything new. I'm just like, I'm just using the principles of always give uh, the AI tool you're using a direction of what you want it to do.
Yeah.
Like you can't be vague about things,
Yeah.
because, like I said, if you're vague, you're just not going to get a good output. Whereas like I've been very clear here, look up and research, right? And it's provided me like, the instructions where it's taken its source from. Um, and if this is still too complicated, be like, okay, explain the above text like you would to a 5-year-old.
Imagine you're drawing pictures. I like that.
And even if that's like too long for you, you can be like, okay, turn this
To summary, few bullet
into a,
points.
yeah. Does it actually use the forum extension?
Yeah, I used it before.
Yeah. Okay.
So it
But
does
yeah,
work. Yeah.
yeah. So do you see what I mean? It's like you have to give it instructions, but you also have to do things in batches. Um,
Yeah.
like not batches, yeah, in like essentially like part by part. Like you can't just like give it the whole instruction in the first prompt to get to this point, because it will struggle. So it's basically using too many tokens. So you want to kind of like essentially segment it out. Yeah. And that's how you want to approach it. And look, it's still providing source links all the way through, because I told it to initially look up and research. And then like you can then like essentially take this and then start a new chat, and keep exploring whatever you want to explore. So that's how you want to.
Yeah.
That's how you get a better output with ChatGPT 4.
Or it'd be like really specific and outline like loads and loads of bullet points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think because I showed Vanessa like a week ago, and you've been getting clearer outputs, right? Or better outputs.
Yeah, like I think I've been getting clearer outputs with when I like open a new chat compared to just using the same one, because by then there's like so many different prompts, it's going to get confused that what
Yeah,
you're asking it is actually to
yeah,
do with something on the top of
yeah,
the same page.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
See it like as a worker who gets fatigued after too many instructions. But
Yeah.
I do think it's like a very hyper competent, a idiotic hyper competent worker that needs rest. uh,
Yeah. No, like I use it so much, and it's crazy how much it can do with like, a lot of my role is to like make content or create a content plan, and it is able to generate me a whole content plan like for 30 days, rotating with different content pillars and stuff like that,
mm,
and putting into a table and everything. So it is, in terms of helping productivity, it's really really good.
yeah, and in terms of like solving advertising and marketing challenges, it's like it's very good at ideation, especially if you
Yeah.
know how to give it like good ideation instructions.
Now I was going to say I've got a prompt for an example for like creating content. Let me share my screen just to give you an example of what it can do.
How do you make sure that if you put in a new chat, it's not going to recycle something you've already done? So, for example, your content planner. How do you make sure that you've not used the idea again? Does that make sense? Or how it doesn't
The thing is,
regenerate the
like,
same
yeah, that's why you have to always
check?
double check the content
Okay.
ideas to make sure that it's not something you've used before.
Yeah, I think there's
But the
always
thing
going to
is, you
be
can ask it
some
to
overlap,
generate,
right?
yeah, there'll be always be some overlap, but there's also like just so many ideas that sometimes you don't realize that it's probably something that you haven't thought about that AI is able to generate when you've got like a bit of an idea block.
Okay.
Let me share this one. So I'm using Gemini. I'm going to just copy and paste this prompt that I use. Usually you ask it to, like what is their role. So their role this time is they're a social media strategist. I mean, this is very specific. This is for like Bloom Story, basically. And you're asking to create like a 30-day social media plan that focuses on Reels. And we have come up with 5 different content pillars. And the content pillars are around like UGC, video ads, video market, day in a life as an entrepreneur, and then creativity and well-being. Your audience is looking to level up their social media. And then bear in mind that this is a calendar for January. So this is something that I put on January. You put into a table the day number, the content pillar, and you want it to like rotate through the content pillars. Content type, compelling hook, and you can tell it like the hook should be like short and engaging, and you give an example. I think giving examples is really, really important. And then the last bit is about how to, basically. There's a lot of detail in this. There you go. 30-day plan. So it rotates between the content pillars for each day. And then also gives you the hook, the how to, and then details of how you want to write the caption or what you want to shoot. But sometimes it doesn't generate all 30 days. So you have to like ask it to generate the remaining days, basically.
Yeah, I found with Gemini, it's not very good at executing on the whole entire instruction.
It breaks it down, so you have to keep asking you to do it again and again and again.
Because when I did it, because how I was showing Vanessa a prompt that I used for content generation, and let me just bring this up. So mine's a lot longer, so I give it like a really detailed like instruction. So this, like, let's say we want to come up with
yours very detailed,
like a bunch of ideas for your content, right? So I give it like this whole set of instructions. So I'm essentially telling it like what is the thing that I'm trying to achieve. So I'm using this framework called a GAP framework, where it's like growth, authority, and personal content. And then I've given an example here. It's in this section, and then I've explained to it what GAP essentially means. And then I tell it at the end, reply with yes once you understand this. So click enter, and it says yes. Okay, and then because we're trying to get like content that's specific to me, right? Let's say I'm growing my personal channel, personal brand out. We want to give it content that is native to me. So I'll have to feed it instructions. So I'll give it like details of what I'm doing. So the achievements I've had, the personal stuff, and then again ask it if it understands to reply with yes. And then once you do that, you then want to specify like the target audience, because in content you always
target
want
audience
to.
is so important.
Yeah, exactly. So like for me, it's like I'm trying to target a CMO or head of marketing, male between age 35 to 50. Like you have to come up with a persona. Like you don't want to be too vague, essentially. Again, ask it if it understands, says yes, once it finally does.
Yeah, I found that like having the target audience is so key. Like for example, now every time I'm writing scripts or I'm writing even the podcasts,
Yeah.
just by adding the target audience, it makes such a big difference to the answer it gives.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last set is essentially my goal is to create a LinkedIn post that makes my target avatar know, like, and trust me. Using the GAP framework, please ask me 25 questions to each category. And then the instruction is the question should asked should set me up so I can answer them with a LinkedIn post that's under 1,000 words.
Oh.
Yeah.
and then it's like, okay, sure. See, as you see, it's like breaking it down. Whereas like with Gemini, it will stop at like 15. Whereas on ChatGPT 4, it does 25 for each section properly.
Yeah, that's so much better. Because otherwise, I feel like I have to always click on like generate more. It usually gets like 10.
Yeah. And this is how you get like better responses. Just by being hyper specific about what you put in. Because most people won't think in this level of detail, and they put in like the naive prompt, and they're just gonna get like not a great answer. As you can tell, like, you know, it's asking me very specific questions, right?
That's a lot.
You know, like one of the first questions is, what was your most challenging poker game, and how did those strategies you employed translate to business decision making? If you asked, like, if I went to ChatGPT 4 and said, okay, create me a social media content plan on my life, I don't know if it would get this specific.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think also
it's
specifying
created
like
too many.
I think also specifying the framework,
Yeah.
helps a lot. Because I was trying to find hooks, like write hooks for like content, and even specifying like what a hook is. Because you know, before Miles was saying, why, like, you know, does it not come up hooks that are like just really clickbaity?
Yeah.
But actually specifying like what a hook is can make like a really, really big difference. So I'm gonna give you this example. Finding hooks. So this is actually a prompt I wrote for one of our podcasts, like for a reel. And I just said, write a list of hooks below. Consider limiting yourself to like 5, because sometimes the hooks is like really long, which doesn't look good on like a short reel, right?
Yeah.
And then defining like the hook has a scroll stopping effect on users, preventing them from skipping over your reel to watch another cute dog video. Instagram reels are vital elements of a successful video marketing strategy on social media, and even more straightforward way to grab the audience attention to ask them an open-end question in the first few seconds. So this is the description of the content, like the reel, and then the answer is split was like way more shorter with the hooks compared to before. It was just like really long sentences.
Yeah.
Cool.
And like this way, it's essentially generate a lot of ideas, and we can like test them almost instantly. And then I go through like loads of iterations essentially. So then we can then like figure out which is like the most effective piece of content, because like what I guess Vanessa and I have realized is that we don't actually know what works in the sense that, so like for example, it's like the Super Bowl just gone, right? You have all these brands who hire like creative agencies, come up with this like huge like story for an ad, etc. They try to make humorous, and then you have literally Kanye West who films like a 25-second video on his phone. Right, I don't know, and then he
Go
does.
get some Yeezys.
Yeah. It literally go get some Yeezys, and he spent what 7 million in ad, and he generated 18 million in revenue just from that ad.
Wow.
And it was just super like lo-fi, no script, just him on his phone going, "Go get some Yeezys." That's it. And it really proves the point that like no one really knows what they're doing in the content game, but it's like if you can iterate very quickly, and then figure out what works and what doesn't, you're more likely to find hits. And it's a case of quantity is the new quality, especially if you can raise the average standard of quantity. You'll eventually find a hit.
That's why you have to just keep posting. It's like, for example, okay, let's say any platform like TikTok, you can post something and it's the best video and it just flops, but give it a few months, you post it again, it does amazing, it's going to be a hit. Like, again, sometimes it's not even just solely on like good content, but volume. But at the same time, you have to make sure that that piece of content is good enough so that there is the potential to hit the jackpot, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
So AI allows us for that
yeah,
like speed and scalability essentially, because it is quite hard coming up with new ideas. And the way I see it, it's like AI is like the assistant, right? It's a good way to generate starting points. You can be like, okay, give me some ideas, and then you can be like, kind of go away, think about it, and like, oh, actually, I want an idea more on this idea or here, and it lowers the, I guess, like production costs, especially if you can go from 0 to good enough and get it out, and then just see, right?
yeah,
Like you can come up with some sort of um, like static image for an ad, roughly with AI. You can like test it straight away with advertising. If it gets loads of clicks, then you can like add the budget in for higher production and then scale it across,
exactly.
nationwide or on TV, etc., etc. So yeah, I see it in like a kind of, it helps you scale, it helps you test, experiment, and then allow you to scale if you,
Fast.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And then the last thing,
Just
Is that Sora one? Or is that something else?
it is Sora.
So good.
Last week, OpenAI released Sora, a text to video generator. So previously, the AI videos like ones are great. Oh man, I might have it up. Actually, it's going to take too long to generate. Yeah,
Okay,
it was
yeah.
previous text to video models have been very like choppy, and they also tend
Just
to,
short as well. Short
yeah,
clips.
very short. Um, Sometimes it morphs into something really weird, or it gets very psychedelic. However, OpenAI released Sora, and it has been crazy good. Like, I don't know. To me, it's gonna get very hard to tell what is real and what isn't real anymore, I feel. Um,
yeah, the one that you showed us on.
yeah,
You know, the one with
That's true.
the digging up one. I love that one.
yeah. Okay, so like they released this research paper, and there is some videos that have failed. So if you scroll down, Vanessa, yes, yeah, up, back to the guy who's like running on a treadmill. Yeah, and then click to the next one.
Oh, this one's quite good as well.
Yeah, this one's a bit weird. Like these
Yeah, you can
little
see.
wolves.
It's
Yeah,
what?
It's like so trippy, right?
multiplying.
Um,
Yeah.
but this is their like failures. So
Oh.
yeah, and then the next
Oh,
one
my
is like
favorite
Elon Musk
one.
as well. This is really weird. But it looks so real though, right? Even though it's like
Yeah.
failing.
It still looks real, yeah, even though it's failing, for
Yeah.
sure. That's when you know, like in the future movies, yeah, you can literally just create this magical effects of Sora.
Yeah. And having access would just mean like we can create videos as like mock-ups for clients in advertising and marketing so easily. And it gives them like a sense of vision straight away, because vision like a creative vision's generally quite like abstract, right? Only the creative can really see it themselves, and if and then get like key stakeholders like on board, then like I think a lot of this stuff will be a lot smoother. um, there's going to be less back and forth. And
Yeah.
also, even on like the client side, if they're like, okay, I've generated this, but can you execute a real version of it? It's also a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Because like right now, the way people give like storyboards and like try to show their vision is through things like this app called like third party, like Foreplay, which basically saves TikTok videos or parts of a video so that they can pass it on to the creator to like replicate it, or they can like generate these like AI images that look similar. But I think, yeah, with these like videos, it's way more accurate in terms of, yeah, being to visualize it the way the creator actually wants it to be, the director.
Yeah, so we live in very exciting times. Currently, OpenAI are quite reluctant to release it to the public.
Yeah.
So they're trying to put guardrails in place so that there isn't a massive spread of misinformation. Um, I'm hoping like in the next 6 months, but also it's an election year, so they're probably very
Oh,
concerned about
true.
deep fakes, and maybe the release is next year and not this year.
So until then, we've got to keep trying with these other platforms.
Yeah.
We shouldn't rely on just one platform anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, like between us three, there's a big spread of knowledge on the different platforms.
Mm-hmm.
that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Woo! Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this very long episode.
But see you next week. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you next week. Bye.